All right, hey kids, welcome to section 3.4, standardized budgets. Today we're going to calculate recommended percentages for personal budgets. So what happens when you spend all your money for the month on new clothes? Well, if you spend all your money on new clothes, you're not going to have any money left to spend on food or spend on gas or other utilities. So there are recommended amounts of money that you should spend based on your income on different things, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So, since the need to budget expenditures is a universal need, recommended budgets have been developed and made available by financially knowledgeable people. So, people that are in the business of money management have come up with some standardized percentages of uh, your income that you should spend on different things. Such budgets are referred to as standardized budgets. These are recommended percentages for personal budgeting expenditures. So here's a pie graph that shows a budget using percents of gross income for each category of expense. So the percents given will not give every situation. These are only guidelines. For example, housing can be more expensive in one area of the country or another. So some of you might spend 25% of your gross income on housing and others might spend 30. If you live in an expensive part of town, a slightly larger percentage than is recommended may need to be allotted for housing. This means the percents for other items must be reduced. So we're going to use this pie graph to help us kind of decide if our amount that we're spending is more or less than the recommended amount that I spend for different things. So we have housing, food, miscellaneous, clothing, medical, insurance, recreation, savings, transportations, utilities, tithing, and taxes. Tithing is like when you give money to a church or you donate money to an organization. So some places call it tithing, other places don't. So if you don't go to church, that 10% can be spread amongst other things. So example number 1 says the Hearts with No Children have an annual income of $65,921. Find the recommended amount for them to budget annually for housing. Well, if you go up to the pie chart, housing should be 25% of your gross income. So if I take 65,921 and multiply by 25%, which comes from the pie graph, you get $16,480.25. So the Hearts would expect to spend about $16,000 every year for housing, whether that be for apartments or a house that they own or rent. That's how much they're going to spend on housing. That's a lot. That's a quarter of your money. Example number 2, Mr. and Mrs. Pasurkis earn $54,000 annually. They spent $4,321 on food last year. What percent of their budget did they spend on food? Well, if I want to find the percent of their budget, then I'm looking at a fraction where I'm going to put the amount of money that they earn on the bottom. And then on the top goes the $4,321 that they spent on food. So if I divide these two numbers, 4,321 divided by 54,000, I get 0.08. So if I want to change that to a percentage, I multiply by 100 and that tells me 8%. It does say to round to the nearest percent, and that's why I rounded the 0.08. So part B says to compare this percentage, that 8%, to the recommended amount. Did the Pasurkises spend more or less than the recommended amount? Well, for food, the recommended amount is 7%. and they spent 8%. So we can say 8% is greater than 7%. So they spent more. Now it doesn't care what value, more or less. It just wants to know more or less. Okay. Example number 3, Lisa likes to go to one movie per week. She usually spends $12 on her ticket and $10 on a drink and popcorn. How much money would she save in 1 year if she went on Tuesdays when the price of a ticket was half off and she didn't have any snacks? Okay, well, before she was spending $12 on a ticket and $10 on popcorn. So that's $22 every time she went to the movies. And she goes to one movie per week. So if I multiply that by 52 weeks, I get $1,144. Now, afterwards, she goes on Tuesdays when the price of a ticket is half off. So instead of paying $12, she's paying $6. And she doesn't have any snacks. She's still going to one movie a week. So 6 times 52, that's $312. So to find how much money she would save, we could put saves $1,144 minus $312. She spends, or she would save $832 every year on movies if she doesn't get any snacks and goes on Tuesdays. That's crazy. That's a lot of money. So if you are someone that typically goes to movies, you might want to think about not. Of course, the movies have been closed lately, but you get the idea. Okay, number 4, Ken really likes his lattes, but they are costing him a fortune. He spends $5.75 each workday for a large latte. He works 5 days a week. Ken really needs to cut back on spending, so he has decided to only get a small latte at the cost of $3.75. How much money will Ken save over the course of 1 year? Well, we can do this 2 ways. Let's figure out one way. He's buying $5.75 latte 5 days a week for 52 weeks. So $5.75 times 5 times 52 is $1,495. That's a lot of money to spend on coffee. I don't drink it. So after he cuts back, he's buying a small for $3.75, still getting one every day and still getting one every week. So that's $975. So to find how much he saves, you can subtract them and you get $520. The other way that you can do it is you can think, oh, well, normally he spends $5.75 a day, but he's only going to spend $3.75 a day, so he's saving $2 a day. Well, $2 a day times 5 days a week times 52 weeks in a year, that's $520. So either way you look at it, you still get the same price. All right. Well, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, keep calm and keep trucking.